from the perspective of the rotunda, you look up and you see literally the history of Dayton in front of you.
The history of the small Midwestern city of Dayton, Ohio, has long been defined by its big entrepreneurial spirit.
Dayton has a huge heritage and a history of innovation. The Wright brothers were here.
Air conditioning,
Car batteries and car starters.
the step ladder, and
The beer pull tap.
you could thank Ermal Frey's and Dayton Reliable Tool for that. Cheez-Its, I mean, who knew Cheez-Its? That's a staple.
From the birthplace of flight to the first mechanical cash register to the home of Cheez-Its, Dayton's industrious history has an outsized importance in the Ohio River Valley and the nation as a whole. But it's the so-called city within the city that defined Dayton's bustling downtown, the Dayton Arcade.
That was the city square. The city market was on the site that you're standing.
The sprawling 9-building Dayton Arcade, built at the turn of the century, was modeled after the arcades or indoor marketplaces that dominated Europe at the time.
It's covered by this beautiful glass rotunda.
Functional but also beautiful, the soaring ceilings and domed glass rotunda at its center, 90 feet across and 70 feet high, give the space an architecturally elegant feel.
It's just awe-inspiring. It's a phenomenal space.
It's said that 1/6 of the population of Dayton would have passed through the city within a city every day, during their daily shopping and errands at the public market and retail shops at the arcade. There were even apartments and offices on the upper floors, making this a true mixed-use complex for Daytonians to live, work, and be in community. But as Dayton's economy and population changed and the people left the city, the arcade eventually shut down. For 30 years, it sat vacant and transformed from city center to eyesore, an impossible project that wasn't even worth the money to tear it down.
It was the giant because it couldn't be done.
Now nearly 3 decades since it was abandoned, and over a century since it was first built, after many failed attempts at restoration, redevelopment, and even demolition, Cross Street Partners finally won the hearts, minds, and funding to revive and redevelop this long vacant landmark.
We turned something in the heart of downtown, which everybody wrote off, into something amazing.
It's been reborn as a mixed-use district with housing, events, food, and retail, centered around the Hub, the largest university-anchored innovation center in the country.
Dayton is the entrepreneurial spirit.
It's being shaped by the ideas of the people here, and every new person who comes gets to bring a little piece of themselves to creating the future, and I think that's what's so unique about it.
The arcade was always such a core of the downtown Dayton footprint, and I see it developing and growing into that again.
So you're seeing a new rebirth of that, a new reimaging of that. It's like no other space I've seen. It's just stunning.
Today we're looking at the Dayton Arcade, a bold project honoring the history of a small but mighty city with an ambitious downtown redevelopment project. I'm your host, Brian Mon, Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer at Fidelity National Financial, and this is Built, where you'll meet creative leaders in commercial real estate. This season, we're going bold. Big ideas, defining spaces, and the people who make them real.
If you look at this building right here, this is the first building called the Coons Building. It is the oldest building. It was actually older than the arcade buildings themselves. This was built in 1883, and architecturally probably one of the most significant buildings on Main Street in downtown Dayton.
I'm standing in the center of downtown Dayton with our tour guides Dave Williams and Megan Dunn-Peters of Cross Street Partners, a company with offices in Dayton that was one of the leads on the arcade project.
Right now it's in a Halloween mode, so it's yellow, orange, and purple.
Even with the light show, you can still appreciate the building's beautiful facade. More old world Europe than American Midwest. But it's once you step foot inside the building that you can tell this is a truly historic place.
So we're in the Rotunda building, and this is probably one of the most recognizable pieces of architecture in the city of Dayton. It's kind of the crown jewel, that's what people like to call it. So it's a 70 by 90 foot rotunda, 3 stories tall with a lower level in the basement. But we've brought it back to that 1902 marketplace feel. So we've redone all of the plasterwork and the tin. We've done all the colors. We color match them so to be as accurate as possible. And then all the decor leads back to that marketplace heritage. So there are 16 turkeys. They were repainted by the grandson of the original artist, John Lansadell. His grandfather painted them originally, and then Dave brought him back in to repaint them. So you'll see the lattice work and the ram's heads, the cornucopias, all of that points back to that marketplace heritage.
Megan, the marketing and community partnership manager at Cross Street Partners and native Daytonian, says many people in the community have fond memories of it.
People will come in and say, I have memories shopping here with my grandmother. I came down on the bus. We went to all the other local retail. And they'll describe the smells of caramel corn or other things that they experience in the space.
So Kolb's Cafe counter service has been recreated out at Dayton History. So it still lives to this day. It still works as a little bit of a counter service as well. But what's interesting is if you look at all the fruits and vegetables, this was it. This was the Myers or the Walmart of back then, but a very different twist to it.
And what's really exciting is knowing that, all of the historical figures from Dayton, most notably the Wright brothers who invented flight, they were most likely here as well, because this was such a staple in the community. Paul Laurence Dunbar. So we're kind of walking on the footsteps of all that history.
I'll take a grilled hot dog and a chocolate shake, please, and I'll still get 5 cents back from my 50 cents.
Can't beat it.
This is where I would come as a kid and hang out, go shopping, do all those things.
Vince Lewis, University of Dayton professor and president of the Hub, remembers coming to the arcade as a kid to have lunch with his dad.
My dad worked downtown at a place called Winter's Bank, 1969, 1970. And I would ride the bus down, have lunch with Dad.
Going down to the food court or McCrory's, that's the 5 and dime.
As we walked around the arcade on one Wednesday afternoon, it was clear just how many people feel a connection with this place.
I am a native Daytonian. I grew up coming downtown all the time, and then it was a big thing to come down to the arcade. And my aunts and uncles talk about, McCrory's was really a big thing for them. It just reminds you of family and, when Dayton was booming. And so, yeah, those were the good old days.
A lot of families in Dayton have been here for a long time. There's many generations, or they come back. So this place is also sort of a heartbeat to a lot of families in the community.
As a kid, I remember coming downtown to go shopping with my grandma. And, there was an elder beerman down here.
I think why the arcade is special to the city of Dayton and a lot of its residents is just because there's a lot of nostalgia, generations. If you think of something being a center point of the downtown Dayton, literally.
Walking into the arcade, there's no question it was once a building of great importance and stature. It's hard to imagine that anybody would have wanted to tear this thing down. But Dave Williams says that 40 years ago, it looked a lot different than it does today.
You'd walk into a 1980s looking mall, all of a sudden malls are starting to show up. All these national fast casual food locations are starting to show up. Suburbs are looking better and better every day. And that's when they started putting in escalators and cutting holes in floors and putting in elevators and really taking away what was the original purpose.
Dave Williams is the development vice president of the Dayton office at Cross Street Partners. He's also, by most accounts, the heart, soul, and brains behind this massive redevelopment project.
I bought my first house in one of the historic districts. And I was able to do everything because I'm pretty skilled that way, which is a nice benefit. As I was doing that, I got more and more entrenched into really the world of grassroots, urban redevelopment, historic preservation, all those things that really start to reinvigorate, and just watching what we could do by just doing. So did some of the first adaptive reuse projects in the Dayton art marketplace, one called the Cannery. As a result of that came the Second Street Public Market, working with the Metro Park system and all those type things. So we had a lot of dormant, vacant, old buildings. But what we recognized was the importance of that fabric. Because if you wipe that out, you're just the same old place.
This experience, seeing and realizing the opportunity of historic places around the city, helped set Dave up for the Dayton Arcade project. Where others saw failure, a relic of a bygone era, Dave saw real potential.
So if you don't capture what I call your DNA in your own community, you don't capture the reason for you all to come to Dayton, Ohio and tell this story.
Though only lasting a couple of years, Megan still has nostalgia for the arcade's holiday celebration, Holidays.
So Holidays at the arcade is our big holiday festival that we do every year. And I was here as a child at the second Holidays. The arcade was open in 1992 and 1993 for Holidays. And it's just such a great site. And it looks like the arcade is full and alive again, which is really the goal.
Artisans, businesses, and patrons from the community would all gather under one magnificent glass roof to engage in commerce, but also another kind of exchange. In-person social interactions. Times had changed, but Holidays briefly restored the arcade to a vibrant and bustling center of the city. But it would be short-lived.
In the 1980 renovation, the first renovation of that urban mall look, within 5 years it had failed financially. So everybody already's got the first sting, right? Ooh, that hurt. The second sting comes in 1991 because they reset it, did a few things by 91.
But then other shifts in the commercial and residential landscape of downtown buffeted the arcade. And after several blows, Holidays in the arcade were finally done.
Toast. So at that point, everybody had pretty much given up on it.
For 30 years, the arcade sat empty as one after another proposal to redevelop, renovate, or even demolish it failed to find enough funding and support.
It just looked like it had been abandoned and held in some sort of time warp.
When you walked in, I mean, there are 1992 or 3 yellow pages, the books, like stacks of them. There's probably 15 or 20 of them in there.
Christmas decorations were still hanging from years before, and there was a lot of water everywhere, a lot of mold everywhere.
There are Coke cans from the 1992 Olympics and a desktop calendar that has a date in like 1992 that is open to that date. No desk, everything else is gone, but all this stuff is in there.
Torn up carpet, broken glass, graffiti on the walls.
And it was really like did we walk into a zombie movie?
During that time, it was sold for $1. And later, this historic landmark was listed for sale on eBay. No one wanted it.
It was kind of shocking, I guess.
Jen Wiley is the lead designer on the arcade project, and she and others remember the abysmal state that it was in.
So my first impression was, wow, this building needs a lot of work.
So why did this once thriving center of the city sit vacant for so long? Well, according to developer Dave Williams, once it started falling into disrepair and downtown cleared out, the scale and the cost of the project was staggering.
It's a big project. It's 500,000 square feet, 9 buildings, some 12 stories here, 10 stories there, all integrated, some of them not integrated into each other.
In 2013, Dave was brought into the project and he dove right in, setting up shop in the heart of the arcade.
We created a place they called Dave's Cave. It was just, I took a big old room down in the basement area and we just started providing vision, which is we go look at a building and we render it, we render ideas. So we brought in 2 groups. One that never saw a building they didn't want to demolish, another one that never saw a building they didn't want to save. Tell us what it's going to cost to do A, and tell us, can we actually turn this building into something functional? And so at the end of the day, it came down to, it's going to take $12 million to tear it down to get to zero, right, a gravel lot. Or you can take that $12 million and leverage. Nobody had $12 million. They had $12 million to tear it down.
If they were going to save this building from demolition, the first step was basically triage.
Let's stop the water. If we didn't stop the water, we were not going to have anything to work with. Let's keep the building from deteriorating any further. So the first thing that what it came for was the city of Dayton putting up, I thought it was $750, it might have been $1 million. We call it dry and stable. In the meantime, now you've got the city engaged, and we had stakeholders. All the neighbors were part of this conversation. So $750 gets put up, dry and stable. Now we're off and running.
Next came securing funding for the structural work.
We didn't even understand the construction because we didn't have any drawings from 1902, and this is probably one of the most unique structurally put together buildings that one of our engineers had ever seen. And so the challenge is, when you run into that, do you have enough contingency? The historic tax credits become a key element, but what we have to do is you have to manage what is historically significant to what you can remove to be prepared to go forward with demolition and construction.
Eventually, they secured funding from a total of 51 sources and enough goodwill to begin the process of actually redesigning and renovating, which, for a building this massive and this old and this uncared for, that was daunting.
You know, we've been through a lot of older buildings to the point where sometimes it's just termites holding hands kind of thing. But, you know, I saw areas that in the basement of some of these that I didn't feel comfortable walking under for the first time.
Designer Jen Wiley, along with principal architect Jason Sheets, are part of Moda4, the firm hired to design the commercial retail and office space of the arcade.
With it being an historic building, to be able to figure out how to meld all of these things together structurally and make it work. The basement had been opened up during one of the renovations. So filling the floor back over the basement and then digging it out to create a theater in the round, removal of escalators, and just sort of flipping how people entered and exited and interacted with the building, taking it back to the period of historic significance as part of the historic tax credit. So there was structural elements that took place to make that happen.
One of the greatest hurdles was that former crown jewel of the arcade, the glass rotunda.
The rotunda is 3 ample stories before the glass even starts. When they were working on the glass dome to restore that, they constructed scaffolding that had a set of drawings and engineering just on the scaffolding that was an encyclopedia thick, and 15, 20 levels of scaffolding before they even got to the equipment to get up to the glass.
I want you to think back to some of the design choices that you had to make or you considered for a historic building or set of buildings like the Dayton Arcade. What you had to consider as you worked with what was there?
It's not necessarily what you would expect working with a historic building. A lot of the space didn't necessarily need to return to what it was previously. So there are certain areas like the rotunda or the arcade itself, like the North Arcade, that are very much historic still. But then you get into the spaces like the hub.
While the rotunda was still the visual centerpiece of the arcade, the hub, with its 100,000 square feet and hundreds of businesses and college students, would be the true center of the new arcade.
We're designing for students and entrepreneurs was the Those are the two main groups of people. So for me, it wants to be an energetic space. It wants to be a youthful space. It wants to be a space where people collaborate with each other and interact with each other, especially people that don't necessarily interact on a regular basis.
Jen wasn't just designing a space. She was designing an experience, one that would create collaboration, education, and inspiration.
They wanted entrepreneurs and students to collide so that students got this special education out of being surrounded by people building their own businesses in the same space. And hopefully then those students go and they do the same thing. It's building the infrastructure of Dayton in this building, which is kind of a cool concept.
We've created a place where entrepreneurs, no matter what kind of entrepreneur you are, no matter what your background is, no matter what you look like, no matter where you came from, you'll find programs supporting you wherever you are in your entrepreneurial journey.
Scott Korndike is the president of the Entrepreneurs Center that focuses on supporting startups and other small business owners of Dayton, which is why he was the first guy Dave Williams and his partners called.
I got a call from a developer, and he said, one of the things that we believe kind of in our hearts is that when we do a mixed-use redevelopment project, that innovation's got to have a role in that. And I said, well, sure, I'll take a look. Fell in love with it, of course. And the Entrepreneur Center signed the very first letter of intent they had on the 3rd of January, would have been 2017.
Though very different from the original use and vision of the space, with the help of Jen, Jason, Dave, and the rest of the team, the arcade has been reshaped to uniquely and effectively accommodate the hub and its goals, and maintain the nostalgia and history that is so important to Daytonians.
When you walk in, the first thing you realize is you were transported back into a building built in 1921. The floors are original, the marble staircases are original, the Art Deco banisters original. But then there is a very clear sense that you took something historic and you created something new. And so it's vibrant, full of energy, full of color. We've used these old spaces, but knit them together into kind of a new narrative.
So a lot of the design decisions were based on those concepts. You'll see like a lot of blocks of color, light fixtures, pods of furniture that all speak to like a more youthful, energetic feel.
It's a gorgeous space, but how do you bring more to an entrepreneur than just pretty space? Lots of pretty spaces in this world. How do you create really that collaboration and that opportunity to support entrepreneurs? So that's what we set out to build here at the arcade through the most important partnership that I personally and professionally have, and really probably ever will have, and that's with the University of Dayton.
The Hub, powered by PNC Bank, is now the largest university-anchored innovation center in the country, housing nearly 200 small businesses and support organizations, and hosting more than 550 students across more than 40 University of Dayton and Sinclair Community College classes each semester.
The vision that we had when we started this was multidisciplinary. You wanted to bring students and entrepreneurs together and put them kind of all in the same space and see what you could create.
Vince Lewis is the president of the Hub and executive director of University of Dayton's Crotty Center of Entrepreneurial Leadership. Vince and Scott partnered to make the Hub the core of business education, resources, and connection of Dayton.
Dayton is the entrepreneurial spirit. It's very much an entrepreneurial city. And so when we started talking about the Hub, one of the things that we talked about and why it was so uniquely essential for Dayton was we really kind of have to grow our own. If we're going to help drive this economy, then we're going to do that through driving small business and entrepreneurs in Dayton.
One of those people is Nicole Miller.
I'm the executive director for the Miami Valley Urban League here in Dayton, and we're missioned to move the needle on generational poverty by empowering communities and changing lives.
For Nicole, it wasn't just the beauty of the inside of the Hub that convinced her to move her business. It was the geography of the arcade in the center of downtown.
It provides us a central location, like we're right in the heart of downtown Dayton, where it's right across from the transit hub. You know, public health is down the street, the courts are down the street, St. Clair Community College, where you get your birth certificate, driver's license. The arcade was always such a core of the downtown Dayton footprint, and I see it developing and growing into that again.
It's almost hard to comprehend everything that's going on in the arcade, especially as you picture the vacant, dilapidated space it was just a few years ago. It's not just the new businesses at the hub. At the arcade's communal kitchen space is the 6888 Kitchen Incubator, co-founded by Debria Rice.
We have an open kitchen area that has 6 stations. So we can serve 6 different businesses at one time. Countertop, under-counter refrigeration, food sink, and then you have your stoves, deep fryers, and different commercial equipment that you would need to run your business. Oh my goodness, the arcade, it's an attraction, I feel like, for everybody. It's a historic building. Most people know the arcade. I'm very excited that it was being redeveloped and being brought back. So honestly, when we started thinking about the project, the arcade was just a good fit, and they wanted to have something like this in the space because it's centrally located, because it's just a good fit to the ecosystem for small businesses in Dayton.
The incubator currently houses 14 small food businesses, from a vegan baker to a soul food cafe.
She does soul food with a Caribbean twist because she's from the Bahamas. So you can get like fried wings and catfish, macaroni and cheese, collard greens, all those yummy foods that kind of stick to you.
Elsewhere in the kitchen, Becky Konecki, the director of a new Montessori high school on the arcade's first floor, is baking a pumpkin pie with her son Jude.
We try and cook every Friday if we can.
We actually cooked some pumpkin pie this morning to share with the other people in the building, so we were washing some dishes from that. So,
down in the atrium, another business is setting up for their annual company holiday party.
The theme this year for us is adult prom. So we will have a king and queen crowned of the night.
It's a lovely environment with lots of people. It looks like they're setting up a party in the main area. You can see through these beautiful glass windows the sky that's definitely going to rain soon, and I'm sure it would be perfect with some candles. So yeah, it's a great environment. It's a great opportunity for our community.
When we're down here on a busy night and you think about the challenges of putting together the Capitol stack, the challenges of deconstructing the building, the challenges of overcoming the first stinger and the second stinger that didn't work so well in the 80s and 90s. And now you stand here on a busy night in Dayton, Ohio, looking at what it is now. What do they experience? What kind of emotions do they have now?
I mean, it's interesting to see how emotional it is for people. It becomes emotional for us just to watch that reaction and the people come up and shaking their hand and just saying, man, thanks. I mean, it's over and over again. I mean, it doesn't matter where I'm at, where I speak, where I see people. It's constantly, especially the people that spend a lot of time here or had a business here or whatever it was. That's what you see. It's just a big thing.
This place is sort of a heartbeat to a lot of families in the community. It was really important that it came back.
There's a lot of community down here, and that the arcade is kind of like the heart of it all. You can tell that a lot of things have, happened in this building, and just the history of Dayton and how far we've come.
Having those opportunities come back to life, I think, is important for our residents and community.
For Vince Lewis, the arcade's revival wasn't just professionally significant. It was highly personal, a full circle moment in a way.
Back in the 1950s, my dad, he stopped here every day for coffee at Culp's Cafe at their lunch counter. He would stop in and get a cup of coffee before he'd go to work. And when he found out I was working on this project, he was like, okay, you ever get that done, I want to have a cup of coffee there. Yeah, we did. We sat right over here on a cold February afternoon before we had our grand opening. He was pretty amazed, seeing it come back to life. And he grew up, my mom grew up, they both grew up right down here. My dad was over right by the Oregon District, which is, half a mile. My mom was a half a mile the other way in Old North Dayton. He passed away a little over a year ago. He was 90. To them, this was such a vital part of the community, and to see it reborn was very important to them.
In a city known for invention, the reinvention of the Dayton Arcade, with the hub at the center, is being embraced by enterprising Daytonians, together envisioning a bold new future for their city.
The history of Dayton was really written in this space. It was the center of economy, the center of commerce for the city for 100 plus years. So you're seeing a new rebirth of that, a new reimaging of that. But it's like no other space I've seen. It's just stunning.
From Business Hub to Dayton's Contemporary Art Center to high-end restaurants, coffee shops, a communal kitchen, and Shark Tank-style theater for business pitches, plus hotels and apartments that are still to come. It seems the arcade has truly returned to that vibrant, mixed-use fixture of downtown Dayton that it once was. If you want to check out videos and photos of the Dayton Arcade, visit us on builtpodcast.com. Built is a co-production of Fidelity National Financial and PRX Productions. From F&F, our project is run by Annie Bartelos. This episode was produced by Josie Holtzman, with help from Sandra Lopez Monsalve. Our location producer in Dayton is Austin Fast. Our editor is Genevieve Sponsler. Production support by Adriana Rosas Rivera. Audio mastering by Rebecca Seidel. The executive producer of PRX Productions is Jocelyn Gonzalez. Special thanks to our guests and to Eva Buttacaboli, Ashley Schmitz, Becky Kavecki, Grace Shea, Melinda Moore, Taylor Reichert, Debria Rice, and to everyone else who talked to us at the Dayton Arcade. Thanks for listening. And remember, every story is unique, every property is individual, but we're all part of this built world.